Introduction. Picture this. You've been invited to a dinner party. Excited, you begin thinking about what to wear. But what starts as a simple decision spirals into hours of agonizing over your wardrobe. Is this outfit too casual? Too formal? What if someone else is wearing the same thing? By the time you pick something, you're exhausted, and the party hasn't even started. Sound familiar? That's overthinking. It sneaks into our lives in countless ways, big and small, and robs us of our time, energy, and joy. In The Art of Not Overthinking, Anne Bogle provides practical tools to help us break free from this cycle. Through stories, examples, and actionable advice, she teaches us how to think clearly and live intentionally. In this audiobook, we'll explore her key ideas and apply them to everyday life. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. What is overthinking? Anne begins by painting a clear picture of overthinking. She shares an example of a friend, Julia, who once spent an entire weekend debating whether to attend a work networking event. Julia made a pros and cons list, consulted 3 friends, and replayed every possible scenario in her mind. When she finally decided to go, the event had already ended. Anne explains that overthinking is different from thoughtful decision making. While thoughtful thinking leads to solutions, overthinking traps us in a cycle of doubt and anxiety. It's like running on a treadmill. You're expending energy but getting nowhere. Chapter 2. Why we overthink. Anne dives into why we overthink using another relatable example. Meet Sarah, who loves baking. One day, a coworker asked her to bake cupcakes for a team meeting. Instead of saying yes immediately, Sarah overanalyzed. What if they don't like the flavor? What if they expect something fancy? Should she bake from scratch or use a mix? She spent so much time worrying that she almost didn't bake them at all. Sarah's story illustrates one of Anne's key points. Overthinking often stems from perfectionism and fear of judgment. We don't just want to make good decisions, we want to make perfect ones. Anne reminds us that no one expects perfection except us. Most people don't notice the details we obsess over. Chapter 3. The Costs of Overthinking. To emphasize the impact of overthinking, Anne tells the story of David, a young professional who spent weeks preparing for a big presentation. David rewrote his slides 15 times, rehearsed obsessively, and worried endlessly about what his boss would think. By the time the presentation day arrived, he was so exhausted and stressed that he stumbled through it. David's experience highlights the emotional toll of overthinking. It not only wastes time, but also leaves us mentally drained when we need to be at our best. Key takeaway. Overthinking often hurts more than it helps. It's like carrying a heavy backpack full of unnecessary items. You feel the weight, but it doesn't help you move forward. Chapter 4. Practical strategies to stop overthinking. 1. Simplify decisions. Anne suggests that overthinking often arises from decision fatigue. Take John, a father of 3 who spent hours researching which family car to buy. He read reviews, compared prices, and even asked on social media for advice. When he finally made a choice, he still worried he'd picked the wrong one. Anne's solution: simplify. Limit your options. Instead of analyzing every detail, narrow it down to 2 or 3 good choices and trust your gut. Action step. Set a timer for 10 minutes the next time you need to make a decision. When the timer goes off, make a choice and commit to it. 2. Focus on the present. Anne shares the story of Emily, who spent a weekend at the beach worrying about work emails. Instead of enjoying the waves, she kept checking her phone, thinking about what might go wrong on Monday. Anne reminds us that overthinking pulls us out of the present moment. Mindfulness exercises can help. For example, when Emily felt her mind wandering, She could have used the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. Name 5 things you see. Name 4 things you hear. Name 3 things you can touch. Name 2 things you can smell. Name 1 thing you can taste. This simple exercise shifts your focus away from your thoughts and back to the present. 3. Embrace imperfection. Anne recalls a dinner party she hosted where she spent hours obsessing over every detail: perfectly folded napkins, an elaborate menu, spotless floors. Midway through the evening, one of her guests spilled wine on the tablecloth. In that moment, she realized that her guests didn't care about perfection. They cared about the warmth and connection of the gathering. She introduces the idea of be plus work, doing your best without striving for perfection. Action step: choose one area of your life where you can let go of perfection. For example, instead of cooking a gourmet meal, try a simple one-pot recipe. 4. Use mental boundaries. Anne tells the story of Mark, a college student who couldn't stop worrying about his grades. He thought about them during class, at the gym, and even while hanging out with friends. Anne advised him to create a worry window, a set time each day to focus on his concerns. Outside that window, he wasn't allowed to think about them. Mark found this strategy liberating. By containing his worries to a specific time, he could enjoy the rest of his day without guilt or stress. 5. Take action. Overthinking thrives on inaction. Anne introduced us to Claire, who wanted to start a blog but kept overanalyzing every step. What platform should she use? What should she write about? Would anyone even read it? Months passed, and she still hadn't written a single post. Anne encouraged Claire to stop planning and start writing. She didn't need the perfect title or layout. She just needed to take the first step. Key takeaway: action breaks the cycle of overthinking. Start small and build momentum. Chapter 5. Building confidence in decisions. Anne explains that confidence grows through practice. She shares the story of Mia, who used to spend hours second-guessing her choices, from what to order at a restaurant to what job offer to accept. To build confidence, Anne advised Mia to start with small decisions, like choosing her outfit for the day, and commit to them without looking back. Over time, Mia learned to trust her instincts and became more decisive. Action step: practice making small, low-stakes decisions quickly. Celebrate each choice to build your confidence. Chapter 6. Letting go of control. Anne recounts the story of Tom, who worried endlessly about his teenage son's choices. He wanted to control everything, from his son's grades to his friends. Anne helped Tom create 2 lists. 1. Things he could control, offering guidance, setting boundaries. 2. Things he couldn't control, his son's feelings or choices. By focusing only on the first list, Tom felt less burdened and more at peace. Key takeaway: letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means freeing yourself from unnecessary stress. Conclusion: overthinking is a habit, and like any habit, it can be changed. By simplifying decisions, embracing imperfection, and focusing on the present, you can quiet your mind and live with greater intention. Anne Bogle reminds us that life isn't meant to be analyzed to death. It's meant to be lived. So take a deep breath, let go of what you can't control, and take the first step toward clarity and peace today.